Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello, and how you all doing today? And we're back with these. Surprised I was doing one for this week. Normally anymore with the pay-per-view weeks, normally I just stick to just the preview and prediction stream. But I'm still going to do a Raw and SmackDown review for this week to make up for not being able to do one last week, because I was away on a business trip. But I am here, and oh boy, it has been a crazy week in wrestling. We have a lot to talk about. But of course, I'm going to spread out some topics in the Raw, SmackDown, and my Rumble preview and predictions. Some may get its own individual thing. There's one that I am debating. Well, two I'm debating about doing a video for. I'm not sure yet if I will. But it's possible. But this stream will cover one of the additional topics because it has to do with Monday Night Raw. So what's going on, guys? This is the Club with the Man 1993. And this is my review of this past week's episode of Monday Night Raw, the January 22nd. 2024 edition, the go-home show for the Royal Rumble 2014. And it took place at Smoothie King Center in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I thought it was a great go-home show. Couple things that were just like decent to solid. We had some really good things on this show. We, of course, though, got an injury update on Seth Rollins, as Seth Rollins suffered an injury last week in his main event world title match against Jinder Mahal, Jinder Mahal, whatever you want to call him. But Jinder Mahal, it wasn't Jinder's fault. Seth Rollins did it on a move he always does. It what happened when he tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. This time it's the MCL and the meniscus. Of course, we'll get to Seth in a second. We had that injury update. We got a match with New Day and Imperium, which I can't believe a random tag team feud is actually doing really well. Again, this stuff with Imperium and New Day, all because of Giovanni Vinci's concussion injury he suffered a couple weeks ago on Raw. We had, of course, the long-awaited face-to-face confrontation between two of the big favorites for the Royal Rumble. And there have been some rumors leaking of changed plans for WrestleMania 40. We'll talk about that, and also a certain somebody who joined the board of directors yesterday for the TKO group. We'll talk about that in the Rumble preview. This episode, though, of Raw, before we get to it, we're going to talk about the new TV deal that's coming in January of 2025. For the first time in its 30-year history, I believe it is, Monday Night Raw, starting in January of 2025, will no longer be on cable television, as they struck a deal for 10 years, $5 billion, $500,000 a year. WWE's Monday Night Raw will be taking place on Netflix. Yep, it'll be streaming on Netflix starting in January of 2025. It's starting to happen, guys. I mean, we already have like some TV shows that are like Netflix exclusive or like exclusive to other streaming stations like Peacock, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever else there is. It's a deal that's interesting, and again, just showing that cable and television is slowly fading away. It's no longer we're watching TV, it's we're streaming TV. Kind of got that from an act when I went to see Jerry Seinfeld a couple months ago. He made some joke about how we gone from watching to streaming, basically, and whatnot. You keep saying you don't know what technology is going to come up with next. But this is an interesting deal. Like I said, this, I think, is going to test the waters. Because, of course, WWE, for a while, was having everything on the USA Network. SmackDown moved to Fox in 2019. They will be going back to USA, I think, later this year or next year. I can't remember when it was. But sometime soon, SmackDown's going back to USA Network on a new deal. NXT is going to be on the CW. And Raw is going to be on Netflix. Which I find this very interesting for sure. Especially now they're all in one place. Now they're spreading out. Which could be a good thing. Although this Netflix one, we'll have to wait and see though. Because I don't know about you. Again, I don't really pay too much attention to different streaming services. I feel like Netflix is like... It's like the modern day MySpace. Like when Facebook became more popular. MySpace like died. I never had MySpace. I had Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Now of course I got TikTok for the channel. And I did briefly try Threads for like 2 minutes. And then I was like, this is a day for me. And I got off Threads. I was literally about to test it out for the channel, but I'm like, no. But I don't need more social media. But I feel like Netflix was like one of the first like streaming services I ever heard of. But then as these other ones came along, I feel like Netflix has like struggled and like it's kind of died off a little bit. Now, a deal with WWE could help revive that. Of course, there's also questions, what's going to happen with pay-per-views. Is Raw, how long is Raw going to be now that it's going on to Netflix? We'll go back to 2 hours. Could they make it a longer show? I don't know about that. Some people are wondering also, has Netflix done a lot of live streaming? Because if not, could Raw be pre-taped? But it very well couldn't. I'm pretty sure. I'm not as worried about that. Because I feel like, Netflix is going to update with modern day technology. And like all social media, streaming platforms, all of them seem to do that. Like I said, my thing is all of them seem to eventually become the same. Like the same thing pretty much. So I'm not going to worry too much more about that. But this will, of course, be a test. If this works out, and apparently, I think it is, I think from what I heard, that I think after the 5th year of that 10-year deal, there is an opt-out clause. And I feel like we're talking about baseball now. I'm talking about opt-out clauses. So if it's not working, Netflix or WWE could back out of this deal. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. But then, though, I heard a little bit of like iffy news this morning. I read somewhere that apparently, though, the deal they currently have with USA for Raw, it expires in September. And and the Netflix deal doesn't start till January. And that's a little concerning. Because where is Raw going to go those few months? So it's the idea of why not Raw just take a few months off? You could, but the rest of the roster ain't. But, I don't know. We'll wait and see how that works. But yes, Raw is moving to Netflix starting in January of 2025. Again, it'll probably be a test. I'm pretty sure if this works out, don't be surprised someday if other platforms of wrestling, like NXT or whatnot, don't be surprised if AEW, because there have been rumors for the longest time of AEW getting a streaming deal with Max. Don't be surprised if that happens. But it's showing that shift in, technology. We'll see, of course, what happens. I will, of course, be interested to see what this goes with. But I just wanted to get that out there, briefly address that. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. So, the show opened up first. We were hyped up with seeing Cody Rhodes and CM Punk were going to be coming face to face. That was later on in the show. The show opened up though with Seth Rollins coming out. Again, to get you up to speed, which thank God, 2 weeks ago, when they first teased this match with Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal, I thought it was going to take place at Royal Rumble. But thank God it didn't. It took place on an episode of Raw instead. I saw the match, it was whatever. And of course, I had heard while I was away about this legitimate injury Seth had suffered in his match with Jinder. And I watched the match. It happened on a moonsault. I can't remember if it was off the ropes or whenever I think he landed and his knee went, like a way it should. A fluke thing, just Seth Rollins, as far as I know, this is his third knee injury he's had. He had the ACL, MCL, and meniscus tear in 2015. In 2017, he accidentally rolled on his bad knee, I think it was, whenever Samoa Joe took him down for the coquina clutch. Now this one is his good knee. He hurt that on a moonsault. Freak accidents. And knees suck. Again, I hurt my knee in 2016. I hurt my knee. I hyperextended it at a trampoline park. Out of my recklessness, it happens. But someone even told me this once too, because here and there you get a little jolt in it or whatnot. Knees suck. And now that Seth, of course, has both of his knees that have had history of tears and whatnot. He's beat up. Between the knees, his back, I really think, let's talk about what he addressed here. So he came out with his knee in a brace, limping. He was not on crutches. I'm surprised he was not on crutches, the way they made it seem like last week. The crowd, sung for him. Of course, he obviously was getting a little emotional. And the crowd's chanting, "Thank you, Seth." And let's not forget also, this man, again, 4.5 years ago at this point, literally, didn't handle himself well as the top baby face of the company. Well, the guy on Raw. He's gotten the second shot again. This time he has somehow pulled it off. What story did he have for being a babyface other than the fact that his song was over? I have no idea, but he pulled it off. So hats off to him for that. So everybody's chanting, "Thank you, Seth." And he starts to address the crowd, saying he appreciates the reaction and the support. And he mentions again the moonsault, and he mentioned that he felt his knee go in a way it's not supposed to. He finished the match, but of course after when he did, just reality just set in. It hurt, and he realized that he could be out for a long time. He's spoken backstage about how every single title defense, he only got better and stronger, and he couldn't help though feeling that he felt a little bit of a liar with where he is now. he felt for the first time it might be a real possibility he may miss WrestleMania, which everybody's chanting no. He appreciates, the support, but he said from his MRI, he was advised he has a grade 2 tear of his MCL and a partially torn meniscus. And he could miss 3 to 4 months with surgery. If it was up to him, he'd be out here next week stomping heads in the mat, but it's not up to him. He doesn't know what the future holds. And then, though, this is where, because at first I thought he might be vacating the belt here. But then, of all people to interrupt him, and this made things very interesting, and the rumors have been swirling about some leaked change plans for WrestleMania, which we'll talk more about those when we get to my Rumble preview. Although I am keeping my predictions though the same, and not going to have them impacted by the rumors I have heard recently from that. But anyways, he gets interrupted by Imperium. Gunther comes out, who I would say is not my pick to win, but I think he's a pretty good favorite to possibly win the Rumble. He comes in and says, champ. And, well, first, he gets in and scores up with Seth. And Seth's like, I don't got time for this. Just get it over with if you want to make an example of me. Gunther says, don't worry. You don't need to worry about Giovanni and Ludwig. You should be worrying about him. Yes, Giovanni Vinci was back on TV for the first time since he has concussion. He feels like him and Seth have been avoiding each other for a while. He wanted to know, what does Rollins honestly think of him? Seth says, have at it. Gunther says from the beginning, Rollins has been in a tough spot. Labeled as a workhorse. And we're going to come out here and fight every week for an honest victory. Being a champion who brings dignity, respect, and honor to a championship. A champion that everybody can be proud of. Just like the Ring General. Now it kind of pulls on his heartstrings to see him like that. And finding out that he might not make it to Mania honestly makes Gunther sad. But Rollins says, well, you should have let me finish. And says he don't give a damn what the doctors say and how hard this and that, but he is going to work his ass off and rehab and push the knee, and he will take the title into WrestleMania. And he will walk out of WrestleMania as World Heavyweight Champion. Gunther's like, that's great. Happy to hear that. Because he is going to win the Rumble, and he's coming for Seth. He's a great champion, and from one to another, he will choose Rollins to be his opponent at Mania and target everything that isn't 100% and become World Heavyweight Champion. Rollins says, I appreciate the honesty, and he returns it. He wants them to remember, though, who he's coming after. And he offers a handshake, but then Gunther says, you need to remember who's coming after you. And he shakes Rollins' hand. And as Gunther leaves, we have the New Day jump from the crowd and attack Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser in a big brawl to set up for their match next. So Seth Rollins is keeping the title. My concern though about this though is Seth probably is not going to wrestle again until WrestleMania as he rehabs the knee. That's 3 champions now. We're not going to be having defending their title because, well, I don't know for sure if Logan Paul is out of Chamber. I would feel that if anybody should wrestle, he should at least wrestle a Chamber. I don't think Roman Reigns should be a Chamber as well, especially if it's an international event in Perth. But we're not going to have Seth Rollins. He's not wrestling at Rumble. There didn't seem to be any plans for him for Rumble. He's not wrestling at Chamber now. That's 3 possible champions that may not be at Chamber. I don't like that. My other question is, even if he didn't cash in, even if someone like shielded Rollins, like DIY, because they're feuding with Judgment Day, why didn't Damian Priest ever come out and attempt to cash in on him? You know, like, Gunther came out, teased something, which Seth Rollins and Gunther sounds like an awesome match. If it would take place at WrestleMania, though, I'm not sure if it would be title for title, or if Gunther will drop the title before WrestleMania, or if he'll win both titles and relinquish the IC title. I don't know. But, of course, it's a possibility. A little preview, I will say. It's possible that we could see them two collide at WrestleMania. But if it's going to happen, I don't know. There is a lot, though, of unanswered questions for sure when it comes to WrestleMania. Things aren't as obvious as they've seen before. But, anyways, I still thought it was weird, though, that Damian Priest didn't even attempt to cash in here. I don't know why he wouldn't have, since Rollins is the most vulnerable since he's gotten the briefcase, but who knows. New Day and Imperium had a match. They gotta get this to like a Falls Count Anywhere match or something. I like this feud also. I mean, again, it happened out of just a pure accident, with Giovanni Vinci getting a concussion from that dropkick, and they've had like Ludwig Kaiser going ape shit on the New Day, and it's been bringing out a more serious side of the New Day, and to me it's firing up Imperium, because I feel like we're finally getting away from this teased breakup storyline with Imperium, which has been going on for way too freaking long. I'm sorry, again, maybe it's because Vince McMahon was getting power back when they got moved to Raw. But Imperium should be a group that's running Monday Night Raw. They should be like the new bloodline of Monday Night Raw. Not the Judgment Day. Screw them. Well, I shouldn't say that, because R-Truth is actually making them entertaining. And they have a little bit of a direction. But still, their booking's been all over the place, inconsistent, in my opinion. Not everything has worked with Judgment Day for me, as I've always said. But I'm hoping that this at least fires up Imperium. And the match ends in a double countout draw. They were like sending everybody through like tables and whatnot, brawling with road cases, firemen's carries, suplexes as well outside the ring. It was a melee. Like I said, this has to lead to like Falls Count Anywhere, even Extreme Rules if you want to go that far. Because this actually is a very interesting feud. And like I said, I think it's bringing out a more serious side of New Day. And it's also, I think, lighting a fire under Imperium again. So we'll see where that goes. But I really enjoyed all that. We had that. We have a backstage segment with Judgment Day, as they advertised the main event is going to be Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Rhea Ripley's informed Priest and Balor that they have to defend their titles against DIY next week. And Priest is like telling Rhea that she has to stop getting a big head and going to Adam Pearce to get matches made. And storms off and tells them everything's under control. Rhea tells JD and Dominic, or Tom and Nick, as R-Truth keeps calling them, she's not mad they didn't take care of DIY. She's just disappointed. She tells Finn to be at ringside, though, for JD's match. Well, I guess it was Dominic's, because JD didn't wrestle. Dominic wrestled The Miz later on the show. And it's been a while, though, since she's seen him be vicious. Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree have an interview before Ivy Nile takes on Valhalla. The match was whatever. Again, I like Ivy Nile. Valhalla, though, I just don't get anymore. I'm sorry, I appreciate the difference to not just bring her back as just plain old Sarah Logan, who, again, no offense to her, just did not have a character when she was with the Riot Squad. And whatever it is about Valhalla, it's like, I don't see her any more than just like a mascot, basically, for the Viking Raiders. Ivy Nile, though, wins with an Avalanche Bulldog. We're going to move on from that. New Day have an interview with Jey Uso with them. They're saying they're sick and tired of people thinking they don't do this. They're 12-time tag champs for a reason. They're the best tag team around for over a decade. And then Kofi says Imperium found out what happens when they cross New Day. And he challenged Gunther for an Intercontinental title match next week. And of course, Jey Uso's with them. He just slings the back and goes, yeet! Hey! Lovely! Next was Nia Jax with the microphone saying, you know the first time I saw Rhea Ripley, what happened? Squashed. First time I wrestled Becky Lynch one-on-one? Squashed. And everybody's talking about me. We think we're coming out. I'm trying to complain, but Rhea doesn't just want to face me because she knows that I can't beat her or whatnot. Oh my god. But anyways, Becky Lynch comes out. Nia Jax, Becky first tells Nia to shut up. Find something to talk about. She knows she has a target on her back, but not because she's bigger than everybody else, but because the locker room don't agree on anything except the fact that they don't like Nia. Hey! But on Saturday, she doesn't know will she enjoy more, winning the Rumble or watching Nia lose. But then, because we saw them in the background during, I think, the interview with Ivy Nile, the interview with Jay and New Day. Damage Control was walking around back behind them. And out comes Bayley. Damage Control crashed Raw last night. Well, not crashed. Apparently they were invited by Adam Pearce. Bayley comes out and says both of them are going to lose. And she came to Raw to look for Rhea. But this is almost better. She uses her promo to cheap shot Becky. And then Nia attacks her. Becky pulls Nia off and does sort of manhandle slam. But this is a manhandle slam on Becky. And Nia reminds us. And she tossed Becky over the ropes. This was this is how the Royal Rumble works. Because they've only announced 4 or 5 people for the Women's Rumble. Which is odd. But then she did a leg drop on top of Bayley. Sooner Nia Jax promo gets done, the better. Lovely. But I'm pretty sure Nia is a favorite to win on Saturday. But I don't want her to win. She better not. If you want to do Rhea and Nia at Chamber, because we're in Rhea's home country, treat Rhea like the babyface that match, fine. But of course, save Becky and Rhea for WrestleMania. With Becky probably winning Chamber. Although, we'll talk about that when we get to the Rumble preview. Dominic Mysterio beat The Miz. R-Truth, I think, came out and he's basically making a lot of money off his merch because he is apparently now the top merchandise seller in WWE or all wrestling, one of the two. But he's coming out and giving people his Judgment Day their portion of the profits. And during the match, though, Dominic wins with a frog splash. And DIY make the save. Next week, Judgment Day will face DIY in a tag match for the tag titles next week. We'll see how that goes. Damian Priest is backstage being interviewed while this is going on, and R-Truth was up to give him his cut of the profits. And Priest tells Truth he appreciates his sense of humor, but now is not the time. He says Drew McIntyre likes to talk about when he was the man around here and when everybody was back to 100. He couldn't beat Roman Reigns or Gunther or Seth Rollins. Out of pure jealousy, he wants to make sure that Priest don't win the title. But Priest will take it one way or another. And Drew will receive punishment tonight. I think he also announced that he will be in the Royal Rumble as well. So I guess he has multiple options of getting that world title on him. Rumble, cash in, whatever. Bronson Reed cuts a promo about how he's going to win gold this year, and Jey Uso won't stand in his way. So he wants to fight Jey next week to make an example of him. So we get Jey Uso and Bronson Reed on the fall episode of Rumble next week. Chad Gable and Ivar. Again, I know I just crapped on Valhalla, but Chad Gable and Ivar had a phenomenal match. Again, Chad Gable is a hidden technical talent. He's reminding me more and more of the match I've seen of Kurt Angle as days go by. And Ivar, I think, has really excelled in this singles role ever since Eric went on the shelf. They were awesome. And again, like, you know who else I could probably compare Chad Gable to? Tyler Bate. Because it feels like Chad Gable can make a match work with anybody. Any style. And especially these big men he's wrestling too. Those suplexes he gets, those chaos theories, are just nuts. But some excellent maneuvers, excellent counters, excellent near falls. Ivar, though, eventually wins with his moonsault, which is also freaking sick. But he won because Valhalla distracted Chad Gable. But that's there. And then, here we go. Here was the segment everybody was waiting for the most from the show. So we got Cody Rhodes coming out. He didn't get to talk yet, but CM Punk came out after him. Probably the two biggest favorites to win the Rumble on Saturday. And before anybody else saying anything else, besides the fact that everybody's chanting Cody, Cody, CM Punk, and all that. The first thing that's said is Punk saying, "I'm hoping we can continue to be friends after Saturday." And then Cody asks Punk, "What do you want to talk about?" Punk goes, "Let's talk about your dad." I don't know if Cody knows this story, but he's never told this. 2007, Dusty called Punk and tells him he's sending his youngest son to OVW to begin his career as a professional wrestler. He wanted Punk to keep an eye on him. Punk didn't know if he was the right guy, but then Dusty said yes for a favor. When Dusty asks for a favor, you say yes. And it wasn't hard, but Punk stayed out of his way. And Cody doesn't have a lot of the same vices their contemporaries do. And he saw that Cody grew to be the main event star he sees today. And he's proud of Cody for that. Saturday, though, he feels like he's breaking a promise. Because he's not going to be looking out for him. He's coming for him. And doing what he has to do to win the Rumble, main event WrestleMania, and finish his story. Cody tells Punk that he's not alone. In the feeling of talking to Cody, but thinking of Dusty, he rattles off names and says he's done everything he can to be the light in the shadow and be his own man. He was an OVW with no matches under his belt, a complete nepotism hire, and then there was CM Punk, who had toiled on the independents at the time for 10 years, but he still treated Cody like a friend. And they did become friends, but the tragedy is, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, there are no friends. Punk says, what's what happened Sunday morning, when he could separate business from personal. But can Cody? He grew up in the business. The son of one of the most legendary professional wrestlers of all time. One of the greatest. They traveled very different paths. And because he scratched and clawed to get to where he was, he saw the burden of the shadow and how hard Cody would have to work to get out of the shadow he was in. Two very different paths, though. One similar goal. His father was blue collar, just a regular guy. An electrician who makes it ironic that he believes that he's more of the American dream than Cody is. Ooh. That's when the first shot was fired. Cody takes a few steps around the ring and trying to shrug it off. And then he says, let's talk about the pipe bomb. Punk... Oh, wait, my thing refreshed on me. Sorry about that. Where was that at? Punk threw his mic out of the ring. And Cody says he rattled off the formula for a revolution that he was inspired by. Which is what Punk left when he did that pipe bomb. But then Punk didn't just leave. He really left. He just dropped the torch, didn't even pass it, and Cody picked it up. Everything he spoke about, he did. What's ironically, though, that makes Cody more CM Punk than CM Punk himself is. Which Punk takes off the hoodie, gets in his face, and basically says, it's getting a little hot in here. And he says he's getting the full road to WrestleMania CM Punk experience. He carried this company Cody's carried the company for excruciating 2 years. And that gave him the video game cover. And he's ready to finish his story. But what's that? A much bigger surprise came in and derailed his story. And Punk is talking about himself. Cody's like, you might be right, but you should know that Dusty was his best friend. And he quoted John Wayne all the time. One of his favorites is that courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyways. And then his discretion goes through Punk, who walks Punk past Cody and gives him a cold shoulder. And Punk just whoops it around, and then they go forehead to forehead. Thinking they're about to kiss or about to beat the hell out of each other. But then they back up. It's like, okay, we fired some shots, but, we're going to leave it there for now. We'll see what happens Saturday. Oh, boy. So, no AEW hits, which honestly just might be the way it has to be here in WWE. Punk wants to move past it. I think him firing some shots at AEW at this point is just completely irrelevant. The story is he's a changed man. But of course, he still has to prove, I feel like, that he's a changed man. But this promo still was excellent. And what I kept thinking was this promo I felt was going to make or break one of the other's momentum. Because he got one of the biggest stars ever, CM Punk, coming in with the modern day biggest star, who, again, had to leave to be recognized as the main event star he is and get his opportunity and win the Rumble last year, Cody Rhodes. So, I felt that both men protected themselves. I mean, they could have gone worse. CM Punk could have easily mentioned to Cody, brought up The Rock. If CM Punk would have brought up The Rock, then Cody would have been owned in that promo. But he didn't. But I still think one of these two are the ones to win the Rumble. We'll talk about more of that, though, later on with the stream. So we'll talk about that then. But that was great. Oh yeah, Hulk Hogan then had a promo, because they were talking about back-to-back Rumble winners. And there was a promo for Hulk Hogan celebrating 40 years as a wrestler. And apparently, he even made some jab about what if he's got one more in him. Teasing he's going to be in the Rumble. I'm sorry. Can Hogan even move that well at this point? I would have a hard time believing Hogan's going to be in the Rumble. Heck, I'll even say I expect Snoop Dogg over Hogan in this Rumble. Don't put Snoop Dogg in there. Please don't. Anyways, Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell had a match against Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark. The second week in a row, Candice and Indi have a match. And they have Johnny Gargano's old heel theme song, which is basically the Way's theme song. Don't know how I feel about that. Match was fine. Shayna and Zoey get another win with a Z360 from Zoey on Candice. And then afterwards, the Kabuki Warriors attacked the champs, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, who were at ringside watching the match. They have a match against the Kabuki Warriors on Friday as well, which I'm thinking the Kabuki Warriors are probably going to win those tag titles then. Drew McIntyre is backstage and he has nothing more to say about Cody or Punk. He could care less about their big bad words. He says that Priest ain't ready. He's not tough enough physically or mentally. There's only room for one chosen one, which is him. And then Damage Control were backstage when they ran into Natalya and Tegan Nox, who confront them. They got into some shouting matches before Adam Pearce breaks it up and tells them, save it for Rumble. And he also tells Bayley, you win the business for yourself and started stuff. And I invited you here just to, tease for the Rumble and for Friday with the Kabuki Warriors and Chance and Carter. But then Bayley says, well, as the Kabuki Warriors do win the title, and she wins the Rumble, he'll be seeing a lot more of that. And then Jinder Mahal and Indi Sheer roll up wanting to have a chat with Adam Pearce, and they go over into his office, and Adam Pearce once again says, I need a drink. We then have the main event, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, which was a good match. I don't know if this means that Drew's going back to being a face, or if he's tweener, or whatever it is. But he won the main event, and that's the show. Well, he won the main event because R-Truth got involved. It was distracting because of the money he was making off of the shirts. That's how the show ended. Overall, great go-home show, I thought. Again, the main event was a good match. Chad Gable and Ivar was also an awesome match. Punk and Cody, of course, stole the show. The Seth Rollins match was good. I just thought it was weird that Damian Priest didn't get involved. Again, love what to do with New Day and Imperium. But, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to see you guys later on for my Royal Rumble preview and predictions, and we will be live for that. So I get the stream set up for it. We'll be live for that, and probably some other stuff to come as well, too. What will it be? We will see. But guys, that's our review of Raw. I'm going to give it a B+. B+. Really good episode of Raw. One of the best we've seen for a while. One of the best go-home shows for sure. Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. Have a great rest of your day. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!